Manchester City have been dominating England for the most part of this decade, and they even got to conquer Europe. But can we face it, guys? They have cheated their way through more than half of the trophies they have won. This is why they have had 115 charges hanging over their heads for a long time now. But it is still much bigger than that. Much, much bigger than many people even know. This is why Manchester City are the biggest cheats. First of all, these guys just had an insane injection of funds from nowhere in 2008 and just started buying trophies. This alone goes against the basic ethics of football, the game we all love. You see, Man City were struggling in the 2000s when the Abu Dhabi United Group came along with unlimited funds all the way from the Middle East and started spending insane sums on players. In fact, the very day they completed the takeover, they broke the British transfer record to buy Robinho, hijacking the deal from Chelsea on the last day of the summer transfer window. After all that spending that summer, they didn't get better that season, finishing 10th on the Premier League table. But it didn't matter because they didn't need to check their books. They had unlimited funds at their disposal and could just cheat their way through the transfer window. While clubs were struggling to make impactful signings while also trying to balance their books to avoid getting into trouble with the law, Manchester City just casually splashed over £100 million on players in the summer of 2009 alone. That was definitely crazy for 2009. They still didn't get what they wanted. They finished 5th on the Premier League table, which was an improvement from the previous season. But they didn't qualify for the Champions League, so what did they do? Yeah, you guessed right. They went and spent even more money. Eventually, they were able to buy their way to their first trophy in 35 years when they won the FA Cup in 2011. And once these new owners saw that their formula was working, it felt like they had hacked a shortcut to football success. So they just rinsed and repeated, but at much bigger scales. They went on to make more signings which helped them win their first Premier League title in 2012, their first league title in 44 years. And when the formula looked like it was failing, they just intensified their efforts, signing the world's best coach and giving him a blank check to build the best team in the world. And when he got it wrong with signings like Claudio Bravo, Nolito, Douglas Luiz, Jack Harrison, and the like, it didn't matter. They just gave him more money to sign more players. This tradition continued and culminated in Manchester City breaking the British record again with Jack Grealish in 2021, 13 years after they first did it with Robinho in 2008. Football fans, journalists, stakeholders, and enthusiasts worldwide started to suspect that there was just no way all this business could have been done legally. And well, it turns out they were all right. In 2020, Manchester City got slapped with a 2-year ban from all European competitions and a €30 million fine because they had allegedly breached UEFA's financial fair play rules. Was anybody surprised? Definitely not. We all saw the business they had done over the years, and our only question was how UEFA didn't nab them earlier. But when we all thought that their cheating had caught up with them, they managed to somehow magically wiggle out of it. They appealed to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, and guess what? In just months, the court completely overturned the ban. But the ban wasn't overturned because Manchester City were found innocent of the allegations. No, not at all. It was only because some of the allegations were above the statute of limitations. Apparently, there's a law that states that UEFA cannot investigate a case if it happened 5 years or earlier. And that was literally what saved Manchester City from some of the allegations. The others were unproven. So you see, Manchester City were not exactly found innocent of the allegations. They just managed to find a loophole. How? Because they have all the money in the world to hire the best lawyers. This was how they escaped a 2-year ban from Europe and had a €30 million fine reduced to €10 million. That ban in 2020 should have forced City to sit out the Champions League. Instead, they managed to get it overturned, and that season, they went on to reach their first ever Champions League final. Interesting how these seemingly little things have such huge effects on other things, isn't it? Now, if that were the first and last time City were slapped with huge allegations of financial doping, it would have been easily overlooked. But in 2022, they were hit with the biggest bombshell. A whopping 115 charges of financial irregularity were leveled against them. This particular case exposed to a much larger audience the cheating organization that Manchester City is. These 115 charges included 7 charges for breaching the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules, 5 charges for failing to comply with UEFA's FFP rules, 35 charges for failing to cooperate with Premier League investigations, 14 charges for failing to provide accurate details for payments of players and managers, and 54 charges for failing to provide accurate financial information. Now, which of these allegations look like a reflection of an honestly run organization? An important point to note is that these allegations date back to 2009. Just a year after the Saudi takeover and just around the time when the insane sums really began to be pumped into the club, leading to the club's most successful era. So one could say that there are huge question marks above most of the trophies Manchester City have won. Knowing how money rules the world and how Manchester City can afford the best lawyers worldwide, don't be surprised if they get away with this one with a slap on the wrist. Last season, we saw Everton and Nottingham Forest get docked points after they were found guilty of breaches of the Premier League's profitability and sustainability rules. Everton had 8 points deducted for 2 breaches, while Forest had 4 points deducted for 1 breach. And then you have Manchester City with 115 charges hanging over their head, and still no punishment has been meted out in nearly 2 years since the allegations first came to light. If they're found guilty, Manchester City could face a heavy points deduction, see a couple of their medals stripped of them, or even get relegated. But as to what will actually happen when a judgment is finally reached, your guess is as good as mine. But shouldn't Manchester City be relegated to League 2? Let us know what you think in the comments. Whatever happens, it doesn't change what we have all seen. Manchester City are the biggest cheats. For more content like this, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.